Hello and welcome to Foreign Dispatches, the program that takes you around the world in 25 minutes. I'm Layo Adegoke. On the program this week, more evidence from the World Health Organization shows that the Omicron variant has milder symptoms, even as India begins vaccinating its teenage population. Plus, a snowstorm in the U.S. caused major travel delays and power outages, with a lot of people stranded on the highway. The World Health Organization says more evidence is emerging that the Omicron variant of the coronavirus is affecting the upper respiratory tract, causing milder symptoms than previous variants. However, its high transmissibility means it will become dominant within weeks in many places, and that's posing a threat in countries where a high portion of the population remains unvaccinated.
On Tuesday, a World Health Organization official said more evidence is emerging that the Omicron coronavirus variant is affecting the upper respiratory tract, causing milder symptoms than previous variants.
We are seeing more and more studies pointing out that Omicron is infecting the upper part of the body, unlike other ones, the lung, who has been causing severe pneumonia. It can be a good news, but we really require more studies to prove that. We had a good number of studies coming up, proving again what we had from South Africa, that the vaccine still protects you against hospitalization and severe disease and death. And that's what vaccines were designed.
However, he added that Omicron's high transmissibility means it will become dominant within weeks in many places, posing a threat in countries where a high portion of the population remains unvaccinated.
Whenever Omicron is introduced, it will be a matter of weeks before it becomes the dominant. So the number has been fluctuating because of the availability of the data and the lag. Just to give you an example, in the US, they reported initially 70%. When all the data came back, it went to 57%. So there will be a fluctuation with the Christmas backlog, with the New Year. I think we'll have a better idea of the proportion in the coming days.
His remarks on the reduced risk of severe disease chime with other data, including a study from South Africa, which was one of the first countries where Omicron was detected. However, Mahmoud also sounded a note of caution, calling South Africa an outlier since it has a young population, amongst other factors.
I was given an example that the South Africa is an outlier, that we shouldn't base our information based on is a younger population, university student population moving together, and then the population disappears in December. The country shut down, like in Western Europe, in August or August holiday in France. It's very hard, everyone goes on a holiday. So December for South Africa is where everyone goes out on holiday. So the epidynamics will be different.
Asked about whether an Omicron-specific vaccine was needed, Mahmoud said it was too early to say, but stressed that the decisions required global coordination and should not be left to the commercial sector to decide alone. While it's too early to say if there will be an Omicron-specific vaccine, an Israeli study finds that a fourth dose of COVID-19 vaccine boosts antibodies five-fold a week after the shot is administered.
We know at a high degree of certainty that the fourth dose is safe. That's the first piece of news. The second piece of news, we know that a week after the administration of the fourth dose, we see a five-fold increase in the number of antibodies in the vaccinated person. This most likely means significant increase in the protection against infection and against severe hospitalization and symptoms.
Israel has played a leading role in studying the effects of COVID-19 vaccines as the fastest country to roll out two-dose inoculations to a wide population a year ago, and one of the first to give third shots as boosters. It is now administering fourth doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine to people over 60, health workers, and immunocompromised patients. In the meantime, India has launched a campaign against COVID-19 for people aged 15 to 18 amidst fears of a surge of infections of the Omicron variant. The vaccination drive is being carried out in consultation with schools, hospitals, and health centers.
I feel safe now because the COVID cases are increasing across the country, so now I feel a bit safe.
Reports said a large number of schools and other educational institutions are also being used as vaccination centers as well. English secondary school children are now to wear masks in classrooms and take a COVID-19 test on arrival as they return from the Christmas break. A new requirement for older students to wear masks in English classrooms was introduced on Sunday, January 2nd, amidst a surge of the Omicron variant of COVID-19. With daily infections numbers at record highs and people who test positive required to isolate for at least 7 days, schools and other public services were facing disruption from staff shortages. But the government has said that face-to-face teaching will continue to be the expected norm and exams will go ahead as planned this month. French government officials vowed to enact by mid-January, as planned, a law to block unvaccinated people from hospitality venues, despite the legislation hitting a procedural hitch in Parliament overnight. January 15 remains the goal for the law to come into force. Until now, France has enforced a COVID-19 health pass, which means in order to get into restaurants, cafes, or cinemas or board trains, people need to either show a fresh negative test or proof of vaccination. The legislation will remove the option of showing a negative test, effectively barring unvaccinated people from hospitality venues or trains.
Federal government offices and schools in the Washington, D.C. area were closed on Monday as the region received its first significant snowfall of the season, part of a winter storm that left at least 3 people dead and more than 500,000 customers without power as it moved up the East Coast. Many people were stranded on the highway, and not even President Joe Biden was spared from the snowstorm.
A winter storm packing heavy snow and strong winds engulfed parts of the U.S. Southeast and Mid-Atlantic states on Monday, forcing federal offices and schools to close as they threatened to make travel dangerous and knock out power. The inclement weather forced federal government offices to close in Washington, while dozens of schools canceled or delayed the start of school across the region. Even President Joe Biden faced delays as he arrived back in Washington from Delaware. After landing at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, President Biden remained on Air Force One for at least 30 minutes so the tarmac could be plowed. He eventually descended the snowy staircase, shielding his face as blizzard-like conditions whipped around him. His motorcade, which typically darts through Washington streets, crawled its way back to the White House. The historic Georgetown neighborhood in Washington, D.C. was not left out, blanketed in snow on Monday after a winter storm packing heavy snow and strong winds. The icy weather trapped drivers in Virginia, leaving them stranded in their vehicles overnight until the morning of Tuesday, January 4th, as authorities worked to reopen an icy stretch of Interstate 95 closed after a storm blanketed the U.S. region in snow a day earlier. I-95, a major north-south thoroughfare, was shut down in both directions near Fredericksburg, about 55 miles south of Washington. This U.S. Marine who was stranded on the U.S. highway recalls the bone-chilling cold and confusion.
It was kind of like losing hope. Everybody just turned off their vehicles almost at once. And once I reached that point, I too found myself doing that. I fell asleep and I quickly woke up to just like kind of like expect someone to be on my way and move forward. And then I realized, hey, an hour has passed and we haven't even moved. No one else has turned on their vehicles.
23-year-old Isaac Arcus was 50 miles from Quantico, the U.S. Marine base, when traffic along I-95 came to a complete standstill. At first, Arcus thought it was just a brief delay. After the first hour passed with no movement, it occurred to him that he may be stuck there for an extended period of time.
Another scary part was the fact that I was losing gas because the roads were obviously icy. My vehicle was doing a little bit too much work, and I hadn't refilled my gas tank since I left North Carolina. So I had about 110 miles till I was empty, and then slowly it went down to about 34 miles till I was empty. And right now, currently, I'm about 48 miles from my base. So that's something that I got to worry about, because while I've been stuck here, I've had to have my car on and then off to conserve the gas, but I need to turn it on to, get heat from my vehicle, obviously. and my vehicle has poor installation. So I'd have to turn on my car maybe every hour or maybe every half hour. And that's another reason why I had my alarms for 30-minute intervals, just so I can remind myself, hey, it's getting cold. I only have so much warming layers. And at the time, I think it was about 20 degrees outside. I'm not sure how cold it is now, but it would get very cold in my car very fast.
Arcus's typically 5 to 6 hour trip from his family home in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, wound up becoming an early 14-hour ordeal. While some people were stuck on the highway, opposing armies of snowball fighters pummeled each other on Washington, D.C.'s National Mall.
Today we're letting it all loose on unsuspecting adults.
In a play on the coronavirus Omicron variant, the event was dubbed the Battle of Snowmicron by the Washington, D.C. Snowball Fight Association, a Facebook group that organizes regular snowball fights. Each side took turns charging in an epic melee with the Smithsonian Castle as a backdrop.
As part of its Expo presentation, France explores light as a source of inspiration, knowledge and creativity. This next report takes us to the Expo 2020 city and into the country's pavilion as it showcases ideas that will change the face of mobility in the near future.
Located in the Mobility District at Expo 2020, France Pavilion, jointly sponsored by government and private partners, occupies 5,000 square meters of the expo site and offers curious visitors a mix of architecture, cultural and scientific heritage, cuisine, and much more.
We want them, of course, to be impressed if we, as we are optimistic with the quality of food, for instance. And last but not least, of course, with the different part of the exhibition, some of the innovations that are shown there are quite amazing.
On arrival, visitors enter its dimly lit exhibition room that's divided into 3 sub-exhibitions. The first themed around light and enlightenment.
Of course, we have started with a masterpiece of the century of enlightenment, which is the 18th century, the French Encyclopedia. And we have the original edition of the French Encyclopedia, published in the mid-18th century. That's a copy lent by the French archives.
These encyclopedias contain images of evolutionary ideas and progress made in the 18th century. The second part of the exhibition focuses on the theme of mobility, one of the 3 central themes of the Expo 2020. This exhibition showcases French companies in the mobility sector.
To start with, we have space, which is a peculiar type of mobility, but in fact it's mobility, and we have a travel through the universe, starting from the French Guiana with the Ariane rocket, and then we can go through the different planets and stars.
In the final segment of the exhibition, themed Connecting Minds, Creating the Future, visitors take an audio-visual journey to the world below the ice in Antarctica, learn about the impact of technology on education, and see a glimpse into a planned global exhibition on a boat.
Art Explorer is a French foundation which has designed and is building this boat. It's a mock-up, of course. The real one is about 50 meters long. And this boat, with an exhibition, digital exhibition of the main masterpieces of world art, will go in 50 different countries, just to show, of course, this exhibition and to mix that exhibition with local resources in terms of arts, just to give access to any citizens in the world, mainly in ports, of course, because it is a boat, both to masterpieces of global arts and to local heritage.
A trip to the famous Notre Dame in Paris ends the exhibition. Visitors see both past and present-day Notre Dame via augmented reality and projected imagery, showing repair works for the cathedral that was damaged by fire in April 2019. Ongoing restoration works are expected to be completed in 2024.
When Foreign Dispatches returns in just a moment, we have more stories for you, so stay with us. You're still watching Foreign Dispatches on Channels Television. Let's now watch these Tunisian women hip-hop their way into a male-dominated scene. La Fabrique Art Studio is launching an all-female hip-hop album that's promoting gender equality.
Creators behind an all-female hip-hop album promoting gender equality in Tunisia hopes it will encourage women to break free from social norms. Women rappers say their art is usually less recognized in a male-dominated scene, and social norms deeming rap and hip-hop as inappropriate forms of expression for women in Tunisia.
This experiment is based on the production of an entire album in which women contribute in some way to be committed to all the issues that concern them at the social and economic level. Male domination, misogyny and misogynistic speech in the public space.
Despite starting a career in rap 10 years ago, Tunisian rapper Nazreen Mokdad, aka Anonymous, says she is still trying to find her place and break free from social norms.
I participated in La Fabrique's hip-hop project because there is no one to help you produce songs and encourage you to write and produce music with professional sound quality so that the people can see you. There's nothing like this. Instead, we find people that stand against you. For all of those reasons, I was happy to participate in this project.
Discouraged by her family, the 36-year-old mother of one says she feels sometimes hurt.
I ask myself several times why I do rap. I say that I do it for myself. I sing to my son. I sing for the future generation and for anyone who wants to listen.
Hip-hop soon grew to be a pillar of the Tunisian art scene after the 2011 mass protest that toppled former President Zine El Abidine Ben Ali. It is particularly popular among youth who says it represents an alternative to mainstream music.
People still do not recognize that any woman can be a professional in rap music and that this becomes her job. It does not differ much from string art, folklore, or folk music. It is the same. But rap for women is rejected because they feel that women sing against the norm.
The album, made by La Fabrique Art Studio, hopes the project would help aspiring women rappers to boost their musical careers and pave the way for new talent. Studio co-founder Mohammed Ben Slama said, "The project helps artists writing lyrics, producing songs and distributing them online and on social media platforms. A festival is expected to be launched to present the women artists next year."
More Nigerian fashion entrepreneurs are taking a chance on Dubai to launch into global markets. The city's location, diversity and modern status as a fashion capital makes for a good foundation for Nigerian brands to build on. In this next report by Mayowa Adegoke, those who have established in the city tells us more about opportunities that are available.
There are at least two things every fashion creative and entrepreneur wants. One, to see their designs on more people, and two, to get good money for them. This likely explains why more Nigerian fashion entrepreneurs are considering Dubai as the next best frontier to achieve both and more.
Dubai offers everyone everything. And for the fashion entrepreneurs, it offers the ease of doing your fashion business from start to finish. So talk about fabrics, talk about production, talk about, quality, talk about people with experience, and just the diversity of, options that you get in terms of, working with people from different, nationalities across the world.
Lara Teshola is founder of Shapes and Colors, a contemporary women's wear brand. Although based in Luxembourg, Europe, she has been producing and shipping her designs out of Dubai after commencing operations there in 2016.
I got in, with the top I'm wearing called the PK top. I created this design and, I wore it and, people would see me and say, hey, I like your top. Hey, I like this and that. And so that's how, I would make something and, sell.
Dubai's strategic location between Europe, Asia, and Africa is of advantage, and so is its well-developed shipping infrastructure. The same benefits attracting global fashion brands and startups in a market saturated with many players, local and international. Building a Nigerian brand comes with its challenges.
It can be very challenging because it's a new environment. You probably don't know anybody. And, the people that also have the buying power, you need to do some level of networking. You need to know the right people, be at the right place. And if you're coming in, as a newcomer, it might be a bit challenging. So I think one of the major challenges faced was like getting into the right scene, getting into within the right circle, having people that have the influence, have the voice, be able to talk about you in the places that matter.
Speaking of the right circles, one Nigerian designer who seems to have hacked it is Ola Folami, creative director of Ola's Grace, who moved a business to Dubai late 2020. High-profile members of the society, influencers, and Emirati royalty are here to see her debut collection in the city.
It was just a matter of opportunity and meeting preparation for us, basically. So we were already prepared. We just needed the opportunity, which is what we found here. When we first of all moved here, my husband and I, we run the business together. We did lots and lots of networking. Yes, and because I am also an influencer for fashion, it also helped a lot to network with women who would bring us into the scene as a Nigerian contemporary brand.
No matter where you're from, there's a space for you here. There's a space for expats, for locals, for modest fashion, for party, for beachwear. There's a space for everything in fashion. So I think the must-dos in Dubai, fashion-wise, is to have a big social media presence because we're so connected. Everyone in the world in our age, is so connected. So in Dubai, it's even a bit more. We're very tech-savvy. Everyone's on their social media all the time. So, the old marketing ways like billboards, TV ads, of course, it is still relevant, but it's so much more relevant to use our phones. We're on our phones 90% of the time for socializing, for work, for everything. So having your social media presence is so important.
From colorful, sophisticated to modest and Africa-inspired fashion, items from the collection find their way into shopping bags, an indication that indeed there is a place for Nigerian fashion brands in Dubai.
Well, this is where we say goodbye till next time, but remember our top stories are never far away. You can catch them on channelstv.com. Thank you so much for watching the program. I'm Layo Adegoke.